Hello and welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Hey, I'm DJ Ross. I am in Mountain View, California.
Each week here on Video Game Hangover, we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at night. This week, that list includes Blaster Master Zero.
Oh,
we mean it this time.
Do
right?
we? Do we?
We're going to start with it. We're not even going to bury it at the end. It's going to be the opening salvo to this thing.
Oh.
Also, The Longing, and checking out Aerial Knights Never Yield.
That, we're going to talk about that title.
It's pretty ballsy to put your name in the game title.
Is that someone's name?
That is someone's handle or
handle.
moniker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess we can get to that later on.
American McGee's Alice.
Yeah, I was getting a real, I don't know what I'm thinking of. I was going to say Spike Lee, but that's not even how he does it.
No, I mean, it's in there.
Never Yield, a Spike Lee joint.
There you go. That's how you would do it.
For
exactly.
the film adaptation, I'm sure.
I would watch Spike Lee's Alice. That would be interesting.
that would be something for sure.
That would be quite a movie, yeah.
I would watch Spike Lee's Sonic the Hedgehog.
It would have to be better than his remake of Old Boy.
Did not see that one.
See the original one.
I've heard
it's yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
don't see the
it's
remake.
very good. I've heard it's very shocking or something, which kind of makes me a little wary about seeing it. People should not put that in the recommendation.
Shocking,
yes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't. That's probably not covering all the nuance about whatever they're referring to. It just, that makes me even more uneasy about seeing it, I think.
It's not shocking like a horror movie shocking. It's not like what's a crazy Japanese horror movie? Audition for those who speak English.
What do you audition? Yeah.
What's the word you're saying? Yeah. That movie is shocking.
Yeah, I heard about that one, but I just feel like the way people have recommended Old Boy to me, they're like, oh yeah, you should watch that. It's like if they had said, yeah, you should, some weekend just throw on Requiem for a Dream. It'll be fine.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I don't know if I would watch it again, but it was, it was good.
Yeah. I subscribe that they should sort of show that freshman year of high school for everyone.
Oh my God.
Just everybody into the auditorium. We're going to show Requiem for a Dream and you cannot look away.
Man.
Leave your phone in your locker.
Traumatized freshman.
Yep. If someone starts to stray off the path, they get to watch it again. No, too much?
That would be a lot, yeah.
Yeah, that movie is a lot. But yeah. Well, all of those things. I don't even know how we got out here. Oh, Aerial Knights Never Yield. That's how we got here.
It's all Spike Lee's fault.
Yep. We're going to get emails.
Does Spike Lee listen to the show? Is he going to be upset? Send us yet another angry email. Just guys, I've been with you up to this point, but made it personal.
I'm sure he's got Google Alerts.
Yeah, you think so?
But anyway. How's things, DJ? How's life?
I am exhausted.
Exhausted?
Yeah, I'm just I need somebody to come to my apartment and take all my video games away. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's I sort of got into this probably last week's show and probably the week before, but it's getting to the point where it's tough for me to keep up with everything going on. I haven't played Valheim in probably a week at this point, and I'm still feeling oh my God, what is going on?
What are you playing if not Valheim then?
Well, so it started a few months ago. I was trying to do the Final Fantasy raid thing. I was getting into that, and then Monster Hunter came out. I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. And then I got way into Monster Hunter, and then Valheim happened. Or I guess Valheim was happening.
Valheim continues to happen, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's been good to have a little time away from that game, as much as I'm enjoying it. But I was really into Monster Hunter, and then there was a big Final Fantasy patch that came out last week. I wasn't even going to talk about it, but I was just guy, this is you gotta coordinate, please. All the stuff happening in the same month, it's not good.
April's not good for me. Are you guys free in July?
Yeah. Talk to me over the summer. Plenty of time.
Yeah. That's rough. I sympathize with that because I found myself in a similar sort of self-inflicted situation last week because Nintendo did their indie worldwide sort of presentation on Wednesday, and then immediately put just a ton of indie games up for sale, new ones, and a lot more on sort of discount, really good ones that I've wanted for a long time. And my email lit up. It was like, a game that you put on your wish list is now on sale. A game that you put on your wish list is now on sale. So like a dummy, I bought 6 indie games with just really no sort of runway or clear path to being able to play them anytime soon.
I mean, you don't have to buy that stuff right away.
The price went down a lot, though, DJ. It was
that's, I mean, they do that so you'll buy it right away because you weren't planning to otherwise.
Well, that's it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Fez came out for like
a game that you've played already.
A game I've played 1.8 times easily. And was really one of the only reasons I was still keeping my PS3 and Vita around. Because that game, at least as far as I know, never made it to like the last gen of video games. Because Phil Fish is a wacko.
Yeah.
And
didn't that come out on Steam at least?
I don't know. I don't really have a machine that'll run Steam well.
It'd
probably run Fez.
Yeah,
it'd probably run
Fez. Probably has lower specs than other games.
Yeah, but anyway, it came out for the Switch, so I bought it, and like a dummy, now I have all these games on top of all of the games that I previously had.
I find myself looking at the Switch shop sometimes. Sometimes there's a sale on or whatever, and it is very tempting. Like I don't know how many times I've had to avoid buying another copy of Outrun. Which I played quite a bit already. I probably have like several versions of it just within the Yakuza games that I have, so it's really just no escaping that game.
Yeah. I have a similar relationship with it's gone now. Shit. Burnout Paradise. Yeah. Which I'm pretty sure I've bought at least 3 times.
Well, at least you can keep on buying it. I don't know where I'm going with this.
There's nothing either of us can say to each other to make each other feel good about this, except to sort of share our sort of mutual miseries.
One place I was trying to go is that, like, in addition to just all these games that I'm playing, there are all these huge JRPGs coming out it's like, new stuff that I want to get into instead of just playing my 150th hour in Monster Hunter. I should be doing that, and I just can't tear myself away from whatever else is going on.
Yeah.
Like, I want to go to the Switch shop and check out the new stuff, but whenever I turn on the Switch, it used to be Animal Crossing, and now it's Monster Hunter. It's just there. And I go, I'll just do a couple hunts or something, and I end up never getting around to playing that new game. So,
and then the birds are chirping, and the sun is coming up, and another day has gone by. Yeah.
It hasn't come to that point yet.
No, well, good. Okay, excellent.
But it's like, I don't know. It's like not an actual problem on any scale. It's just like just inundated by video games.
Oh yeah,
can't prioritize
in a world of real genuine problems, and we have some.
Right.
These barely crack the top 10, let alone hit the top of the list. But I'm with you.
Well, so anyway, my point is I'm exhausted. That's all.
Okay, excellent. Well substantiated.
All right, you want to talk about Blaster Master?
Yeah, I want to hear about it. Yeah, 2 weeks. You've been teasing it for 2 weeks. Let's do it.
So I want to get into this by the most ridiculous segue in the history of the show. I was going to talk about this anyway. I have been I'm playing it off and on. But what I've also been doing on the weekends is I made a list a few weeks ago of just I've watched everything that seemed like it was quality on every streaming service that I've subscribed to at this point. So I'm just it just drags from here on out.
Mm-hmm.
So I've just been throwing stuff on there. I try and include some stuff that is kind of outside of my comfort zone just to see if that's interesting. Or maybe it's stuff where, I heard about it before and I thought, well, it doesn't sound like a home run or anything, but could be a nice diversion or something like that. So anyway, after that whole preamble, last weekend or like a couple weekends ago at this point, I ended up watching that, seminal like 1995 or somewhere around there classic, That Thing You Do with Tom Hanks. Have you seen this one?
Where he's the band manager
He's
of like the 1950s kind of doo-wop boy band.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like it's just a fun throwback like 50s, 60s like music movie.
Yeah. Good music, if I remember correctly. Like really
great,
good music.
Really terrific soundtrack, especially if you're into that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think it's the and this is a weird detour now, but I think the arranger and the primary voice on that is the dude who was in Fountains of Wayne. Whose name I don't remember, but that's a really good band as well. Yeah.
Anyway, so I was watching it and was like, what I love about this movie is that there's just nothing to it. It's like just dessert for an hour and a half. It's like, I think one of the reviews I looked up afterward described it as inconsequential. And I was like, that's a good way to describe it, because it's just like, you sit down, you got your popcorn or whatever. It's just like completely predictable the entire way through. It's like, oh man, is the band gonna suddenly make it big and then like break up because one of them had artistic like differences? Maybe I'll pretend to be surprised when that happens. But it was just like, just fun. Just felt like this incredibly unpretentious throwback to like this era, this bygone era. Not gonna win any Oscars or anything. Although I think it did win for like best soundtrack or best song or something like that. But not for like screenplay. They're not like, oh, Tom Hanks, this is your best one yet.
Yeah.
But I was like, that's good. It's just a fun, like, just sugary diversion.
Yeah, it's a popcorn movie.
Yeah. It's a popcorn movie with. I mean, when I think of a popcorn movie, I think of like aliens blowing up the White House. But
yes.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Yep. Vin Diesel driving a car.
Right. Anyway, so it got me thinking, like, that was so fun and just, I don't know, so low pressure. Where's the video game version of this? Why am I playing all these games that just stress me out all the time? And, like, why can't I play an old, like, NES game that is just so, like, pretense-free? Like, where's that game? And then I realize, oh, it's this game that I've already been playing for like 2 months. It's Blaster Master Zero. Because it's basically just an NES throwback. It came out on the Switch around, I think it was around launch. I don't remember if it was exactly a launch game, but that is sort of what got me into it. Mm-hmm. It was like the Switch's anniversary a couple months ago. And I thought, people are doing their retrospectives on like favorite Switch launch games or whatever else came out during the first few years of it being around.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of good things about Blaster Master Zero. Never got around to it for whatever reason, so I decided to check it out. And it is just, it's basically just this completely frictionless kind of retro throwback game.
So it's not an old NES game, but it's a modern game that sort of apes that vibe. Yeah,
and I think it apes it very well, because there have been a lot of games that have tried to do the NES throwback thing, or like kind of a modern take on NES games with varying levels of success, I feel like. But this one, I don't know what it's doing differently. It just feels like you get in there and it is just, you've got the kind of retro graphics, got the chippy soundtrack, you've got this completely preposterous storyline. It just feels like you're playing an old NES game of, dubious quality. Mm-hmm. And like dubious production considerations, because that was just how they made games back then.
The title makes me sort of envision like a Mega Man scenario. Am I on the right path?
It is a little bit of a Mega Man situation. I mean, it's a 2D platformer in which you drive this tank that jumps around and shoots like bullets at things, I guess. It has a whole bunch of different weapons. It shoots a blaster at stuff. That's the word. And I never really... So it's actually like based on an old NES game or a series of old NES games called Blaster Master, which I never spent a whole lot of time with. But I knew about it, so when they said they were making kind of a spiritual follow-up on the Switch, I thought, okay, I kind of know what to expect. And it's more or less that, to the point, I was going to say it's like a retro NES throwback to the point where you've got this like super anime looking main character, but his name is like Jason Frudnuck, which sounds to me like, oh man, the translators at Nintendo of America or whoever, I don't know, like Sunsoft or somebody back in the day, just like didn't think the Japanese character names were gonna fly with their Western audience, so let's just call him Jason, which I thought was hysterical because they're just still going with it, I guess. But that caused me to go down this whole like Wikipedia rabbit hole because I was like, I wonder what his name was in the Japanese version. So I was trying to get to the bottom of this on the wiki, and it turns out the original game, the Famicom version, was not called Blaster Master. I don't know how big of a surprise that is. It was called Super Planetary War Records Meta Fight. And then I guess I just changed it to Blaster Master because that would play better with the audiences over here.
Sure. It's got a rhyme in it. It's much shorter.
Yeah. Blaster Master, I think, is a better title. Like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think in sort of the rare situation where it got kind of Americanized, I think they made a good choice.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have the actual like Japanese title on here. Just sort of the literal translation. Maybe it loses something in the conversion. But anyway, so I was getting more into this. So the original plot of the Japanese game is it takes place on this alien planet in the Epsilon Galaxy, which is invaded by some army. And then there's like a rebel force that fights back using this tank. And sure enough, he's not named Jason Frudnuck in the Japanese version. He's named Kane, which is like, okay, sounds like a guy who drives a tank. But anyway, so there's like this whole war backstory to this thing. And from what I remember about the NES original, it was about this kid named Jason whose pet frog escapes. And then as he's looking for him in the backyard, he like falls down a hole. And I think the frog mutates or something. And then he finds this tank. And there's nothing about an alien war going on in the background. He's just looking for his frog in a tank.
So they were looking at that sort of that previous plot and trying to enhance. I think they was like, oh, that sounds like a sketchy platform for assembling a video game on top of. Let's add more stuff to it.
Were you talking about Blaster Master Zero or the original, like the American
original
version? Yeah. It's it just that feels to me like such just like a American NES game back in the day. It's like, oh, you got a goofy teenager with a pet frog, and now he's gonna like jump up and down and blast some guys.
Yeah.
But anyway, so getting back to Blaster Master Zero, it is once again back to just being in like this post-apocalyptic future landscape where I think the entire population of Earth has had to move underground because it's like a new ice age or something incredibly terrifying. And yet they still, like, the guy is still named Jason, apparently, so they kept that part. And there's still a pet frog involved at some point. So it's like this weird hybrid of both original versions. Or not both original versions, but both of the, like, 8-bit versions. Which was, like, I thought it was just kind of goofy. Like, they were calling him Jason as a weird throwback, but apparently he was always named Jason. They've just decided that worked in this case.
Man, it sounds like just a lot of like window dressing packed into something that probably doesn't need it.
No, not really. I mean, a lot of this, they don't go into this much detail in the game, as far as I can remember, because it's really just about getting you into the tank and getting you blasting and stuff.
Right.
A lot of this is just stuff I found on the wiki while I was trying to make sense of all this, but I just think it's hysterical.
So like the old days where you would sort of read the book that came inside the video game case.
Yeah,
give
exactly.
You tons of sort of color on the world and stuff that was not represented in the game whatsoever.
Right. You're just like, well, so I've been playing Blaster Master for 20 hours. What is the deal? Like, why is
What's my motivation?
Yeah. Where did the tank come from?
Yeah.
But anyway, so enough about the backstory. Even though there's just so much there, I was not expecting it. As for the actual game, so it feels like how I remember the original Blaster Master playing, where you spend a lot of the time in this tank. which it's not really like a treaded tank. I keep saying tank, so that's probably what you're thinking of, but it's like this, it's like a big turret, essentially, but it has 4 wheels, like a car. And it kind of like jumps up and down. It doesn't really make any sense, but it's a platformer, so you have to jump at some point. And of course you have like the big cannon on, so you're just shooting at stuff all the time. And then occasionally you will get out of the tank and just play as Jason on foot, and go into like a little like side room, at which point the game changes from being a 2D side-scrolling thing to kind of a top-down version where you're steering Jason around, kind of like Ikari Warriors or Commando in the arcade. Mm-hmm. I'm struggling to think of a more like contemporary version of that.
But like on foot now, no longer inside the giant tank turret.
Right. So you're not really jumping anymore either. You're just kind of wandering around and shooting in 8 directions. So it's kind of just a fun way to break up the gameplay like that.
Right.
When you're on foot, you have a whole bunch of different weapons you can select between, none of which feel like they're like give you a significant advantage over the other. They're just sort of like different flavors of video game weapons. Like you have your standard blaster, and then it's like, oh, you've got a shotgun and a machine gun, and this one puts a shield in front of you. So it's just like weird kind of like different power-ups, essentially.
Right.
But it's super fun to like switch between them, depending on which weapon suits your mood at whatever point in time you're playing this. So that's cool. And it's called Blaster Master, so you might as well have a good time blasting things, I guess.
Right. If it didn't do that, you'd be very disappointed.
Yeah. So plenty of opportunity to blast things with various blasters. It's very good. One of the things that kind of sets us apart from other like retro throwbacks that I've played is that I feel like it's like definitely on the easy side. Like the last few kind of retro remakes, or not like remakes, but like Shovel Knight or that blood-stained NES game that they put out a few years ago, were like they kind of felt like playing an old NES game or a game from that era, but they were also just super difficult, which I guess is kind of authentic to how games were back then.
Right.
And I was kind of expecting that when I got into this, because it's made by, I believe it's Inti Creates, who also did the Bloodstain game.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm getting that right. But for the most part, it's been pretty forgiving. The enemies aren't super difficult. Even the bosses aren't putting up too much of a fight. I think I've only died a couple times, and I'm just kind of questioning myself at the same time, just like, well, the game is not putting up too much resistance. Like, kind of, what is the point? Not that, I want to be dying constantly while I'm playing games, but I expect to, to have it put up a little resistance, right?
Yeah, that seems appropriate, particularly when you're sort of digging into kind of like you said, an NES kind of throwback that you expect it to put up a bit of a fight like some of those old games do.
Yeah. So I'm just like kind of puzzled over that, but at the same time, just like, well, it's just that thing you do, the game, where, don't make me think about anything. Just let me, throw me into an arena with a bunch of laser guns and this crazy jumping tank, and let me just take in the NES atmosphere, I suppose.
And if it was this sort of like tough as nails, bullet hell, shmup kind of thing that constantly had you sort of beating your head against a wall and restarting over and over and over again, it would take away that sort of light, wispy, airy kind of confection that you were so enjoying.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm sure there's got to be like an ultra hard mode once you get through this thing, or maybe I just like missed it in the settings and I didn't turn it on at the start, but that's fine. I'm just using this as kind of a distraction when I'm not like beating my head against the latest raid in Final Fantasy or whatever. It's like, well, time to zone out with some Blaster Master. It's good.
It's the Blaster Master Blaster mode.
Oh, if that's not what it's called, I'm going to be disappointed.
Right. I need you to report back when it's done, please.
So yeah, it's just kind of like, hey, have you ever wanted to play an NES game and just like get through the entire thing? Then maybe check this out, because it's pretty entertaining.
Nice.
Also, the soundtrack is terrific. It's got has a few Blaster Master remixes. I don't remember a lot of the soundtrack from the original game, but overall, it's been the music has been very good. The other little detail about this, though, that I heard is that it got a lot of buzz for using the like HD rumble feature in the Switch Joy-Cons.
Oh, cool.
Which I feel like nobody talks about this anymore. But right when the Switch came out, people were, or Nintendo anyway, was making a big deal about how the Joy-Cons had this like next-gen rumble feature. And you remember there was that one like party game where they would say like, oh man, the rumble is so advanced. There's this mini game and you can tell how many ice cubes are in this glass just by how the rumble's working.
I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, well, that's weird. I don't know how advanced rumble needs to get, but sure. Like, I'll give it a try. And for some reason, people were saying like, oh yeah, Blaster Master Zero, great example of the HD rumble. I'm like, what? What are you using rumble for in like this Mega Man game, essentially?
Mm-hmm.
So I was very curious about that. And as far as I can tell, like, I don't even really use the Joy-Cons usually. So I plugged them back in just to check this out. And it just seems like you shoot your weapons and each one rumbles in slightly a different way. It rumbles in another way when you get hit by an enemy or run into a wall or something like that. Which is like, it's kind of novel. But it didn't strike me as especially like next generation. I wasn't totally blown away by this. I was like, oh yeah, it's not just doing the same rumble all the time. I guess that's interesting.
Sure. Yeah, anything that's sort of slightly beyond the standard expectation of how rumble works is probably noteworthy.
Mm-hmm. I honestly don't have rumble on most of the time when I play games anymore. Like, I think I have it turned off on the Switch permanently. I don't know if I use it on the PS4, and that's really all I play that has rumble capability.
Yeah, I think I've got it on in most devices. The Switch Lite doesn't have rumble, so
oh, really?
I played Animal Crossing for the first 9 months rumble free, and then transferred it over to my main Switch and started playing it on my TV, and suddenly it had rumble during like the mini games and stuff like that, and I was like, oh wow, what a novelty!
I think Animal Crossing is actually what got me to turn it off.
Oh really?
Because like, you know, you go around and you hit the rocks every day.
Yeah.
And it like rumbles a lot when you do that. And if you're playing in handheld mode, it's ridiculous because like the whole thing is just like, it's like, oh, yeah. I don't like this. Please let me turn this off.
Cozy Grove does that. The fishing mini game in Cozy Grove, when you finally get like, because it has like every other fishing mini game, a couple of little nibbles, and then the big hit where you've got to sort of hit A on the right at the right moment. Mm-hmm. But like the big hit in Cozy Grove, it like shakes the bed. Like it's usually me in the dark playing as Sarah's trying to sleep next to me, and my Switch in my hands is going, yeah, like massaging the what do they call it? The magic fingers bed? The whole thing shakes. Yeah, it feels a little bit like that. So just no nuance to it at all. It's just the loudest, noisiest, most rumbly thing you can do.
So I think that's kind of interesting from a gameplay perspective, though. Like it's useful, the fact that it's rumbling, because you know you have to grab your fishing rod or whatever.
Right.
And I was hoping that would come into play in Blaster Master somehow. That was the trouble. That was the thing I was having trouble envisioning. But I was like, I want the ice cubes in a glass experience. Where is that? I still haven't played that specific game, but
yeah,
have not run into any other games that use rumble really in like a useful way.
Yeah, no, I can't think of any that do either. The fishing minigame in Animal Crossing is best done by hearing, I think. Because if I try to look at it, I totally fake myself out, and I always sort of cast, reel on the wrong bite.
Yep.
But yeah, if you close your eyes and you kind of listen to the nibble, nibble, strike, then you're okay. That's the way to do it. And I don't think rumble does anything to enhance that.
That's too bad, because they were like making such a big deal about it. And I don't know if people just forgot about it, or they just decided, well, it's not actually a big deal after all.
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
Feels like one of those things that really Nintendo would probably harness. It's sort of like the best. I imagine there's a Mario Party game somewhere or something that probably is the ultimate representation of how good the next gen Rumble can be. But I've not played that game.
That's why whenever I hear somebody talking about like whatever the haptic feedback in the PS5 controller, like how good that is, it's like, is it though? Is it?
They get that on every new cell phone too, is like the haptics. I'm like, they're all the same.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of cell phones. Not one has been sort of more rumbly or better rumbly than the other one. So, whatever.
I have to say, like, the phone I have now is the first phone I've had. It's an iPhone, but it doesn't have an actual, like, button where the home button used to be. It's just, like, it gives you haptic feedback. So when you push it, it feels like it's a button. And the first week I had it, I was just fascinated by it. I was just like, oh my God, how does it work? It's not doing anything. It's not moving.
It's reading my mind. Yeah.
It's like it's lying to me. So that's the kind of experience I want from, next gen Rumble or whatever. Maybe that's what the PS5 does. Maybe I should get a PS5. Maybe that's where all the crazy Rumble stuff is happening.
Yeah. Man, we might have to come back and issue an apology on this whole take on Rumble after we get a PS5. Good luck getting a PS5.
Yeah, right. I was like, who are you kidding? I'm not getting a PS5 anytime soon.
Nobody has a PS5.
No. Yeah. So anyway, Blaster Master.
Cool.
It is it is just a silly game. Tom Hanks is in it. No, he's not, but it's just
got a bopping 1950s soundtrack.
Oh, I wish. Yeah. I still I would really love for somebody to make just a goofy, what do you call the type of rock and roll?
Yeah, that's like I don't know, like that.
It's not exactly rockabilly, but just kind of classic rock like that.
Yeah. You could draw a line between it and rockabilly, though. It's that sort of 1950s pop rock. Yeah, I don't know how to describe it any better than that. I'm sure there's, somebody who's smarter about music could probably articulate it better. But I get you, DJ.
Yeah. So anyway, I still want a game with that soundtrack. Maybe the next Blaster Master. I don't know.
Yeah. Is it the sort of it kind of takes inspiration from like a real band, right? Is it the Beach Boys?
It's like a little Beach Boys. Not exactly. I think of like Eddie Cochran or somebody like that. Not sure if there was like a direct inspiration for the group in that movie.
Yeah. Huh. Cool.
Anyway, so
good.
Blaster Master.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah. You might enjoy it. I know you're not super into like 8-bit throwbacks, but like I said, it's like it gives you the feel that the feeling that you're playing one without a lot of the difficulty.
Sure. I like that. There's something to be said for this is how I sort of, I've talked about this in the show before, best enjoyed games like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta is just put them on like baby mode, put them on the easiest difficulty setting you can find and just sort of stroll through the thing relatively, obstruction free. Yeah, there's nothing about those games that sort of makes me want to master 50 move combos and things like that. I don't care. But they look cool and they're kind of fun. And I occasionally like sort of stumbling upon a move that I can just spam over and over and over again for, massive area of effect or something like that. So I think those games from at my speed are best sort of enjoyed on easy. So yeah, I do kind of like the brainless kind of experience of just rolling through a fun game like that.
I think that when I tried to play Bayonetta, I was like, I'm going to play this on normal because I want to get what Bayonetta is all about. But I do think I would have enjoyed that much, much more if I just played it on like baby mode or whatever they call it in that game. Yeah. I think I still would have gotten it. Anyway.
Oh yeah. Oh no, there's nothing. I come out of it fully going, okay, if I was a different kind of person, I could see that this would be probably fun at a higher level of difficulty with a more significant challenge, but just not interested in consuming games like that right now.
Right. So speaking of consuming games,
yeah,
what games have you been consuming?
So one of the games that came out on Wednesday during that Nintendo Indie World presentation was this little oddity called The Longing. This is a very unusual game, and I immediately had to check it out because it looks so bizarre. You are just a little critter. They call you a shade in the game, and you're a little sort of shadow of a person. You have big bulging yellow eyes, but you're otherwise this little sort of wispy, critter, this little sort of goblin of a person. And your king is the king of sort of an underground realm. And his powers are failing, and he needs to sleep for 400 days to recharge, basically, to come back as a strong king. So he goes to sleep in the opening act of the game and charges you with waking him up in exactly 400 days.
Okay. And this all takes place in real time.
And then the whole thing takes place in real time. So from the day you push start, you have 400 days to do as you wish before you have to wake up the king. And yeah, so you as this little shade, you have a little house, a little hovel to yourself, where you have shelves that would hold books if you had books. There's a little table where you could draw and paint if you had things to draw and paint with. There's a little musical instrument you could play to amuse yourself if you could just find the pieces that you lost somewhere. You could light a fire, but you don't have any sort of equipment to light a fire to keep yourself warm.
Well, that sounds very poorly planned out.
So you would think the king would give you some warning so you could sort of stockpile supplies. So you wander off. You explore the kingdom, knowing you have 400 days ahead of you. There's no rush to get back. And you go on the very long walk to explore the Sleeping Kingdom, essentially, to sort of make your way through tunnels and doorways to different features, different places hidden all over the kingdom. With no map in hand, you just sort of wander aimlessly through doors, up stairways, and occasionally you find a piece of paper that you can draw on. You find a piece of charcoal that you could sketch with. You find a copy of Moby Dick that you can take back and put on your shelf.
Oh, like actually Moby Dick?
And then sit in your little lazy boy chair and read the entire text of Moby Dick in the video game.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, so is the entire kingdom asleep or just the king?
I've not encountered anybody else so far. I don't know. I'm not sure where the rest of the subjects in this kingdom are. There's just a big throne room with a giant sleeping king in it, and I've not encountered anybody else as I've sort of explored.
So did the king talk to you? He explained all this to you personally, or you just kind of like?
I believe, yeah. In the opening couple minutes of the games, you get like a little sort of story crawl.
Okay. Sort
of explaining the situation.
Also, not necessarily. Like, you maybe have not spoken with the king face to face. You just know this is what you're supposed to do.
You know, it was only 10 days ago, and I don't remember exactly how it shook down, but I give you pretty clear directions. Plus, sort of, as you go exploring, the little shade critter sort of ruminates on things. You get to sort of see his thoughts sort of articulated on the screen. He thinks about loneliness, and he thinks about, geez, I would love to hear some music. I haven't heard music in so long. I have to make sure that I don't forget to wake up the king. Things like that. So you get little ruminations on his memory of interacting with the king. He says, the king told me to make sure that I was back on time, but that otherwise I would have the run of the kingdom while he was asleep. So I'm led to believe he had some interaction with the king in the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's a very interesting construct for a video game. There's no map. There's no fast travel. You can remember specific points. So I occasionally get to a room that seems significant. I'll get to, for example, tonight as I was playing, I got to a room in sort of the, cavernous expanse of this underground kingdom that had crystals hanging from the ceiling, and it had glass windows, and it had a giant double door in the middle. And I'm like, this feels significant. It doesn't feel like sort of your standard, rickety staircase and a couple of wooden doors. This feels like like something is beyond this door. So you can go into the menu and you can go remember this spot. And it saves a little screenshot of that place that you found in the underground kingdom. Uh-huh. And then you wander on. You go through the doors, you go into other places. And if you want to go back to that place that you remembered, you hit the little button again, open up the menu, select that screenshot, and push the button. And your little shade character, you put the controller down, will walk the entire distance of the kingdom back to that place.
Huh.
Yeah.
So there really is like this kind of time management aspect to it.
Yes. Yeah. The developer, they said this during sort of the Nintendo Direct, is you could play it on day one in day 400 and not do any of the other stuff. You don't have to explore. You don't have to fill your little house with art and music and books if you don't want to. You really just could see the king to sleep, set an alarm clock to come back in 399 and a half days, and wake him up, and you've done the entire game. Or you can, along with your little shade critter, find a way to fill your time for 400 days. And with no tools that you would sort of expect from a video game to be able to kind of speed your way through it. You can't jigger the clock or anything like that. I've not tried to time travel in this. I don't know if you can or not. But
it's not just like go to bed for 399 days and wake up then option.
There is not that option in the game. Okay. You would have to sort of manage that in the real world on your own.
So how quickly is time passing in this game?
Minute for minute.
Oh, wait. So it is actually in real time?
It's completely in real time, yes.
What?
There is, at the top of the screen, there's actually a frame around the entire game screen. And at the top, there is a little countdown to the number of days, minutes, hours, and seconds until you have to wake up the king again.
Okay.
And as long as you come back when that reaches 0 to wake up the king and time it so that you arrive in the throne room, then you've succeeded in your mission. Okay. Otherwise, you have the entire duration of real world 400 days and every hour, minute, and second in between to fill with as you see which. So yeah.
So earlier when I asked if it was in real time, I forget what you said, but I just thought you misheard me or something.
Oh,
because then you were totally just like, oh no, you just walk around and do stuff. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. But so you're not like, you're going to be playing this well into next year, it sounds like.
Yeah, I set a reminder in my phone to make sure that if I sort of trail off and lose track of this game over the course of the next 365 plus 35 more days, year and a month, that I make sure I come back to it sometime in May and wake up the king.
Oh my god, that is wild.
Yeah, I've been pretty good at checking in daily. Like it's not like an Animal Crossing or a Cozy Grove where it has sort of a daily structure like that. You don't sort of wake up at the beginning of the day and start. In fact, the shade doesn't sleep. He makes a point of that. He doesn't sleep. He doesn't eat. It's not required of him to be able to do those things. He says, geez, I wish I did eat, because that would help me kill some time. But yeah, so he's just sort of a wandering, curious person with a bit of a creative outlet. And yeah, so you go back and the first couple times I played, I didn't go home at the end of the night. I didn't go back to my little room. So I closed the game, went on and played something else, and you come back and he sort of like stands up and brushes himself off wherever you left him. He's exactly the same place that you finished the game last time. So now I've sort of gotten into the habit, as I sort of finish my kind of nightly exploration of sort of auto driving him back to his little house, because he gets so happy to get in his little lazy boy chair and read a book. And sometimes I find books and I kind of want to poke through them. I found a book of poetry. I think Walt Whitman poetry. I was actually going through it tonight, reading some of those.
Which is like everything that's in the public domain. Like, just put it in the
it's all public domain stuff, obviously. I have 4 of 5 pieces of a musical instrument. I'm dying to find the 5th piece. I got some black wax or red wax that I can use to draw paintings and pictures and stuff like that. And as you finish the completion of the drawing, and the drawing takes time too, it takes 8 or 9 minutes for him to draw a picture of. I drew a picture of a spider.
Well, you just you tell him to draw something and just put it down for 8 minutes.
Put the controller down for 8 or 9 minutes, and there's a little image on the screen that sort of slowly fills in as he sort of draws the legs and draws the body and kind of colors in behind it. And you wait the entire duration of the time. So this is one of those things that's sort of like best to kind of have running in the background, or I don't know. I don't know how to sort of best consume it. It feels like an odd take on kind of a clicker game.
Yeah, I was going to say it's like an idle game almost. I mean, it is. Yeah. Weird.
Yeah. You as he sort of walks around, he walks relatively slowly too. You can't run. There's no run button. He's got nothing but time. He's not in a hurry to go anywhere. He's
not in a hurry.
Yeah. So you can just continue to push the stick in the direction you want to walk to be able to sort of go somewhere, or you can use the right stick and it brings up a little like icon of moving feet, and you point it to somewhere down the road and hit the button twice, and he'll just walk to that spot and then stand there and wait for you to pick another spot. So it's sort of built to be consumed kind of leisurely, but it does have a very sort of specific deadline in mind. It is very sort of adamant about making sure that you're back in time to wake up the king.
Oh man, what's going to happen if you miss it?
I don't know. This has been out for a little bit. It's out on Steam, so I suspect I could go on the internet and sort of figure out these things.
Somebody
answer
just
some of
time
these
traveled
things
to the end already.
I'm curious about, but I don't know. I kind of want to experience it for myself.
What if like,
and it is a game
like 300
sort of,
days in, you just get invaded by aliens?
That would be amazing. That would be a very surprising turn indeed.
Yeah. I mean, who knows what could happen, though?
Yeah.
That's such a huge like time frame.
It's massive.
It makes me think of desert golf, where it's like, yeah, I've been golfing for 10,000 holes. What could possibly happen on the next one that I haven't already experienced?
Yeah. It made me think of the desert bus. Where you sort of, yeah, the Penn and Teller game where you drive a bus across the desert in real time
for 400 days.
For I forget how long it is. It's like a 5.5 hour trip from Reno to LA or something like that. And you have to sort of, and the bus sort of constantly sort of steers to the right, so you have to use your joystick to actively kind of keep it on the road. That's nuts. But yeah, it feels like one of those kinds of things. It feels like a test of endurance in some way.
Yeah, I mean, you can always just put it down, I guess, and come back to it, but I mean, that seems like it's kind of missing the point.
I'm curious about things, though. Like,
yeah,
as I sort of walk into rooms, I'm like, what's going on here? Like, this is kind of an interesting thing. Like, I found a room where, like, geez, if only I had a tool to excavate some of these crystals, I could do interesting things with them. And I'm like, what can I do with the crystals? That's cool. Let's find the tool. So yeah, I kind of want to continue exploring it. I feel maybe I should be writing a map as I'm doing it, though, because I keep doubling back on places I've been, and I'm like, this is just wasting time now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Again, it's one of those things. I'm just not sure what the best way to consume it is, but I'm sort of intrigued by it. But it's definitely a sort of an unusual thing. It's an unusual proposition for a video game.
God, that is weird.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of like, I should start this up. Like, the sooner the better, because it's 400 days till the end of it.
I'm going to be 10 days ahead of you, but we'll have to compare notes. But yeah, this is called The Longing, for anyone who's interested. It just came out on the Switch last week. I know it's on Steam as well. I'm not sure if it's on other devices, but it is just a wholly original kind of construct for a video game, and I'm still trying to wrap my brain around a little bit, I think.
That's crazy. Yeah, it just feels like, the first time you started up Breath of the Wild or something, and you're just like, what can you do in this game? I wonder how long that sensation will last. By day 250, you're like, oh, I've done everything. Yeah.
It's certainly not like filled with possibility like a Breath of the Wild. I get the comparison you're making, but it's there's no combat or anything like that so far.
Well, I mean, just like the kind of the possibility space is unknown. It's like, what? I don't even know like what I can expect to be doing in this.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of one of the things that is sort of the the slyly kind of addictive nature of playing Breath of the Wild is that constant sort of discovery.
Yeah.
And I don't know if The Longing necessarily sort of trucks in that specifically, but I'm still curious enough about what's going on to kind of keep coming back and checking in with it every day.
Yeah. God, 400 days. I would have been impressed if it was like 100 days or like a month.
Yeah.
When we played the Moon Witch game, it was like, what's going to happen this month?
We played for 30 days, yeah.
What's going to happen a year and like a couple months from now? That's crazy.
Yeah. If they were smart, they would have put this out around the time Animal Crossing came out last year, right before we all went into lockdown, and we had plenty of time to explore these kinds of things. And I'd just be finishing it up right now. We would just be coming out of 400 days and waking up the king. But yeah, charting the next year, the post-COVID year, hopefully.
Oh my God. That's crazy. Yeah. I've never heard of a game like that before.
No, nor have I. It's pretty unique.
That's like, who was the group that like buried a time capsule in or no, this is terrible because I don't know any of the details. There was like somebody like hid an Easter egg in a game or just like buried a time capsule somewhere, and they're like, well, it'll be unlockable in like 150 years, like long enough that nobody hearing about the actual event will be alive still. I was like, oh man, that's just frustrating to me.
Well, there was that achievement in do you remember the Stanley Parable? That was like come back in a year and a half from now. I forget what the timeline was, but come back a year and a half from now to get this other trophy, this other Steam.
No, it was
achievement.
like don't play it for 5 years.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I set an appointment on my calendar for
excellent.
5 years plus 1 day.
I remember that popping up on Twitter with sort of like, today's the day, guys. If you have not played Stanley Parable since it came out, this is the day to turn it on and get your achievement. I was
actually too worried that I had miscounted or something to start it up anywhere near that date. So, I mean, I'm probably good now. I should do that this weekend. It's like, that is a good comparison. It's just another extremely absurd long-term goal in a game.
Wow, was it really 5 years? I don't remember that. That's crazy.
I think so, yeah. It was substantial.
That's a great game. Make more Stanley Parables.
Yeah, make one that takes a year and a half to play.
Right. 400 days you have to wake up Stanley.
Oh, what's going to happen?
But yeah. I don't know. I'm going to try to keep myself checking in with it. Although now I have sort of my daily appointment games are growing kind of immensely. I have Animal Crossing. I have Cozy Grove, which I'm still sort of checking in with every day and having a good time with. And now The Longing. And I'm like, this is a lot of appointments to keep every day.
You need somebody to come over and take all your video games away.
Yeah, right. Although The Longing doesn't require that daily check-in, but I'm curious. I want to explore. I want to create art and play music and entertain the Shade for his 400 days.
You've got time.
I got plenty of time.
Yeah.
I just felt bad that first time where I sort of left him in a hallway somewhere and I came back to it and he kind of woke up and kind of brushed himself off and was ready to start exploring again. And I was like, oh, dude, were you just standing there waiting for me? I kind of expected I would close the game and he would just warp back home. But this is not that kind of game. This is a game about time and filling every minute in real time. And that's a video game construct. This is very much sort of trying to create a kind of a real world a timing parallel, I guess.
God, what if you find like some seeds or something and they're like, well, these will sprout in 350 days. Come back later.
I found a room, try not to spoil anything for anybody, but there is something sort of growing there. And he said, oh, this isn't quite ready yet. I was like, well, it's going to be ready later. I got to come back to it.
How much later, though?
I don't know. It didn't say. But I remembered, because you can remember, I think you can remember like 12 rooms. So you have the ability to sort of screenshot a specific room and say, walk back to this place if you choose to. So I screenshotted that something might be growing here room so I can go back and check on it periodically.
God, I wonder how long it's going to take. You're just going to be doing this every day for 2 weeks, and it's like, it's going to be tomorrow. I can feel it. And then it's like January. You're like, where is it?
Yeah. But for what, though? It's not like, again, he says he doesn't eat food, so...
who knows? Who knows?
What am I waiting for? What's growing? Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Oh, I want to check this out.
So, yeah. Would recommend, clearly. I mean, it's obviously a very specific thing. If you're looking for the next Borderlands, this is not it. Yeah. But it's definitely something wholly unique in a video game that I've really never experienced before. So, yeah, would recommend if that sounds like your cup of tea, and it sounds like it's yours, DJ. Definitely check out The Longing.
Yeah, I'm suddenly intrigued. So this is on Switch. You said it's on Steam. Is that anything else?
Those are the two that I'm aware of.
I'm looking up on my phone, and it doesn't appear to be on there.
Yeah. You would think they'd be all over a mobile version, because what better way to get you?
Yeah, I want a new like clicker game.
Poke at it every now and then on your phone, but
and I don't want to wait for them to release it on mobile, because that's just time I could be like exploring or whatever.
Right. It comes out on iOS in 400 days.
No, he's just waking him up so he can download it on his iPhone.
Right, exactly. The king is really just doing a firmware upgrade. Is that what he's? Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. And so I'll wrap up with another game that sort of came out during the Indie World presentation last week on the Switch. I guess it's not the full game yet. It's a demo for an upcoming game called Aerial Knights Never Yield.
What? This just gets more and more confusing.
I had not heard of Aerial Knight before this. He is apparently something of an internet character. He's got a lot of Twitter followers and is a independent, very independent video game developer who made this sort of endless runner game, kind of inspired by Detroit. It's sort of an interesting inspiration for a game where he sort of takes kind of the city of Detroit, gives it a bit of a kind of neon, kind of a Neo-Tokyo kind of vibe.
Wait,
creates
it's inspired by the city of Detroit, not the game Detroit.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, the city of. Yep. It was not even on the video game Detroit, but thanks for the reminder of that game.
It's that's a weird thing to draw from. But
the city of Detroit, and in fact, got a music composer to do the soundtrack from Detroit. So yeah, it's got, I guess, a bit of an affection for Detroit, but it's an endless runner. Essentially, you're constantly being chased by sort of sci-fi vehicles, police cars, and drones, and assorted other things. And it kind of mixes those elements with kind of an action movie, kind of anime aesthetic. So, as your character is constantly running to the right and you're trying to sort of get your timing right to sort of jump over and slide under things, there's tons of explosions happening in the background and neon lights flashing and shootouts happening. So it's you kind of running through this city that's sort of in chaos. But again, all sort of done with that kind of neon drenched kind of aesthetic. It's very cool looking. It is, at its most basic, just an endless runner. There's really not a lot of variation. Some of those runners are better than other runners. But this is really just you sort of hopping over things and sliding under things at exactly the right time, all done with a lot of sort of style and panache. So I checked out the demo. It's fun. I had a good time with it. I don't know if this is a future purchase for me. It's one of those things where I sort of got through the first level and a half or whatever is in the demo, and I went, okay, I get it. I see what you're bringing here. It's an endless runner. It's definitely sort of a very good looking kind of aesthetic heavy endless runner. But it is at the end of the day just the same thing that Pixel Junk Runner did and Mario Run and all those other runners that came before.
Is it just going for a high score then? Is it divided into levels or anything?
Yeah. There's no pickups or anything like that, so you're not trying to sort of hit collectibles. I think you're just trying to sort of stay alive. It gives you, a tally of sort of restart. So I think it's really the challenge is trying to sort of get through it on one life kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm a huge fan of just like endless runners where it really is just endless and it's like the score attack kind of deal. But like the Bitter Runner is one of my favorite games. Because that was like broken down and kind of had this musical component. A lot of the levels are very clever.
I said Pixel Junk Runner. I meant Bit Trip Runner.
Oh yeah, well, similar.
Similar, yeah. I can see those coming out of the same house, but yeah. The Runner 2, I think.
Yeah, Runner 2
is
amazing.
The quintessential endless runner game. It feels like it sort of gets every element of that right. The music is spot on. And like you said, there's a musical element to it where if you screw up, it sort of rewinds the soundtrack so that you can rerun again to keep in time with the music. and yeah, that has a lot of like little built-in challenges to it where, if I remember correctly, in some of those, and you've played it a lot more than I can, you can sort of like take a path north and that's much harder, or take a path south and it's a little bit easier. It has a checkpoint. So it's sort of built to be sort of attacked from a bunch of different perspectives. I've not seen anything in the short period that I've played the demo for Never Yield that kind of has that nuance to it.
Interesting. Well,
yeah,
maybe I'll check it out. It's been a while since I just played any sort of runner, at least that I can think of. But,
but it's
if you just say
demo. Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, if you just say like purely endless runner, I think of something like Cannibalt or Temple Run. Clearly, it's been a while since I played one of these games.
You gotta update those references, yeah.
I don't know if they've made any other.
I think
like Super Mario Run.
Been asleep for a little while, yeah.
I mean, Super Mario Run, I wouldn't even say is endless because it ends.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a while since I played one of these where you're just chasing the leaderboards.
And this has sort of kind of endpoints where it you get kind of a little break screen. You go on to the next chapter, I guess. I don't know how I would describe it, but yeah, it didn't it's not leaderboard driven. At least the demo's not. So you're not trying to sort of beat your friends. You're you're really just trying to sort of best your own challenge. It has 3 different difficulties. I've only really played it on kind of the easy difficulty. That has sort of like a timed slow-mo kind of element to it. So as you're approaching an obstacle or something like that, the camera kind of slows down and you do your little parkour move over the exploding cop car in slow-mo. And I think, if I remember correctly, from the level difficulty select screen, that it has less slow-mo or no slow-mo in more advanced difficulties. So you're really just trying to make those decisions on a much quicker timeline. So yeah, it's fun. Again, one of those things where I sort of felt like he was an interesting character. He had a fun little 2 minutes at the Nintendo presentation where he was pitching his game, which he put his name in the title of. That's a big endorsement. But indie developer, I got to check out his thing at the very least. So figured I would download the demo and put it through its paces at the very least. And it was fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I was super confused when I first saw people talking about this because I thought it was like aerial knights, as in like knights who fight in the air. And it was like the statement is like, oh yes, aerial knights, never say die, never yield. And I was like, why is there an apostrophe? It was just infuriating. So that this makes much more sense now.
Aerial Knight is the person who made a game called Never Yield.
Yes, yes. It's all becoming clear now.
If you screw up and die, the game says, "Do you yield?" And
God.
you have to select No, I never.
And
yield.
there's only one option. You only pick no.
Well, no, you have to. Yes, I yield, and No, I never yield. And you get to sort of
seems counter to the whole spirit thing.
Aerial Knights, yes, I yield.
Aerial Knights yield when they get tired of playing this game.
That's cool. So yeah, again, there's nothing to lose here but a few minutes of your time. So definitely, if this sounds interesting to you, check it out in the Switch eShop. It is coming to other platforms as well. He on Twitter said that the demo kind of premiered on the Switch, but the game itself comes out in May and will be on just about everything that you can play video games on. So
nice.
Yeah. So good for this dude putting out a video game. It's one more than I've put out, so yeah. I respect that.
Have I put out a video game? I don't think so.
I don't know. You got to be closer than me, I'm sure.
Oh, really? Okay, I don't know. What was it? What was going on Twitter this weekend? It was like the Kevin Bacon number of video games. Oh no, it was the Ryu number. Ryu from Street Fighter. It was like, because he's just been in so many crossovers at this point. He was in Smash Brothers, he was in Fortnite, he's been in a whole bunch of fighting games. Obviously, people were trying to figure out like what other video game characters Ryu number was. Like how many games did you have to connect before they had fought Ryu, essentially. Oh,
like sort of degrees of separation before you got to Ryu.
Right, yeah. Like the Kevin Bacon thing.
But right,
then there ended up being this whole splinter of like people who had been in a video game somehow. Like they had been a character or they had gotten their name put in the credits somehow.
Oh, neat.
So they were trying to figure out their own Ryu numbers. And I was just thinking to myself, like, have I been in a video game? Why would I have why would that even occur to me? And I haven't. But I just thought it was kind of hilarious.
You would think that would be something you would remember.
Right, yeah. It would have been completely inconsequential, but I would treasure it.
Excellent. All right. I got nothing else. You? Anything else?
No, that's it. I gotta go play
That's good.
Fortnite or no. Whatever. Valheim.
One of the 40 other games you have going.
You gotta check in on the base, see how it's doing. It's been a while.
Your base in Valheim?
Yes, in Valheim.
Okay. I follow. I'm with you. All right. If you need any more video game hangover in your brain, you should definitely follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/VGHangover. And you can always get show notes and links and give us feedback on the show at VGHangover.com. We would love for you to join our Discord as well. You can get a link to that at VGHangover.com too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Show up. Please tell us your Ryu number.
I missed that on Twitter this weekend. I will have to figure out what my Ryu number is. Although I've never been in a video game, so I guess my Ryu number is 0.
Might make it tough. No, Ryu is the only character with the Ryu number of 0. That was clarified. Like Kevin Bacon is the only person who has a Kevin Bacon number of 0.
What's Kevin Bacon's Ryu number?
That's a good question. God, that's really just like folding back in on itself.
Right, yeah. Kevin Bacon has to have been in a video game at some point.
Ryu was he was in the Street Fighter movie. Let's not do this live. It's going to be a disaster.
Okay. Kevin Bacon was in the Street Fighter movie?
No, Ryu was in the Street Fighter movie.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so it would not be hard to tie it to Kevin Bacon. Yeah.
Kevin Bacon was also in an X-Men movie, which I feel like that is where you want to start drawing connections.
We're clearly way out of my comfort zone here. So, what else? Please subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and anywhere else you can get a podcast. And help us out by telling your friends about the show, please.
Yeah, yes, that would be great. It really helped us get the word out. Speaking of getting the word out, we want to give thanks again to Felly Kitty for our intro and outro music this week. Please head on over to fellykitty.bandcamp.com. Check out some of her stuff. It's real good.
It's good. All right, we'll be back next week. Until then, this is Randy Dickinson.
This is DJ Ross.
Thanks for listening to Video Game Hangover. Goodbye.
Good night.
See ya.